The NBA playoffs are getting closer and closer. They're less than a week away. It's really the most exciting time as an NBA fan, especially when your team is a playoff team. So, I want to list my favorites and dark horses to reach the NBA Finals from each conference. So, in a couple months, when the playoffs are over and we have a champion, we can look back at my predictions and analyze them or laugh at them. So, let's have some fun. I'll start with the Western Conference, with my dark horse to make it to the NBA Finals, the Portland Trailblazers. Damian Lillard has been on fumes since the bubble started, averaging 33 points per game, 9.5 assists since the restart. Also, at the time of recording this, he's coming off a 61, yeah, you heard it right, 61 point performance in a win against the Dallas Mavericks. Talk about a game. And CJ McCollum is also a great sidekick, a great number 2 on the team, averaging more than 18 points per game. And Carmelo Anthony, after he got waived by the Houston Rockets last season, many thought that he may never step on an NBA court ever again. However, the Trailblazers took a gamble on him, which has undoubtedly worked in their favor. Carmelo revived his career by accepting a smaller role, taking a backseat to Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, and he became a great role player, providing the spark that the Portland Trailblazers needed. The Blazers, until now, have faced 5 guaranteed playoff teams. Let's look at all 5 games. So the first game, they lost a very close one to the Boston Celtics, 128 to 124. I personally watched the game, and it was a great game, down to the wire, to really the last seconds. It was a really competitive game, a great NBA game. And the second playoff team they faced is they beat the Houston Rockets, with they have James Harden and Russell Westbrook, and they beat them 110 to 102. The third game, they beat the Denver Nuggets by 10 points, and then they lost to the Clippers in a close game by 5 points. And the fifth game, they beat the Philadelphia 76ers 124 to 121. Damian Lillard had 51 points. And now recently they beat the Dallas Mavericks 134-131. And as I mentioned before, Damian Lillard had 61 points. Really, it's amazing. I truly believe that if the Portland Trailblazers continue with this great form of beating legit playoff teams and playing up to their competition, and it doesn't matter who they face, I think the Blazers can upset the Lakers. You know what? Not can. I think the Blazers will upset the Lakers in the first round of the playoffs. And then they have a pretty good shot to go all the way. Now, my favorite team to come out of the Western Conference is the Los Angeles Clippers. They have, in my opinion, the best player in the NBA right now, Kawhi Leonard. And they have the best dynamic duo in the NBA, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Kawhi Leonard averaging 28 points per game this season and 5 assists. And Paul George averaging 21.4 points per game and 4 assists. Also, Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams, who average 18 points per game, are 6 Man of the Year candidates. And the Clippers coach, Doc Rivers, is, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in the league. He already led the Boston Celtics in 2008 to a championship, and I think he can do it again with the Clippers. And that's why the Clippers are my favorite to come out of the West. Now let's move to the Eastern Conference. So who is my dark horse? My dark horse in the Eastern Conference is the Brooklyn Nets. Yeah, it might be quite surprising. They don't have none of their starters came to the bubble. But in my opinion, they're a legit team. They got blown out a couple times, but I think they're just keeping everything secret to the playoffs. And Jamal Crawford signed there, and it really excites me. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They're not my dark horse. My real Eastern Conference dark horse are the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics have, in my opinion, the best dynamic four in the league. And I think they're the only team to have a dynamic four. They have all-star point guard Kemba Walker, who averages 21 points per game. All-star shooting guard Jaylen Brown, who averages 21 points per game. Superstar, small forward Jason Tatum, 23 points per game. Superstar, I think he may be a top 10 to top 5 player in the league right now. And also power forward Gordon Hayward, who averages 18 points per game. The best young core in the league. Also, in addition, they have 6 Man of the Year candidate and 3-point specialist Marcus Smart. Looking at the Celtics core and their position, they don't seem to me to be a dark horse like the Portland Trailblazers, but the limited media attention to this team made them a dark horse or an underdog. Looking at their last few games, they lost a close game to the first-seeded Milwaukee Bucks, they beat the number 2 seed Toronto Raptors, and they blew out the Brooklyn Nets by 30-something points. In my opinion, this team is a legit championship team, and they have a pretty good shot to make it to the finals, and you heard it here first on the Catch Up Sports podcast. I also want to give a huge honorable mention to the Toronto Raptors. At the start of the season, many predicted that after Kawhi Leonard's departure from Toronto to LA, the Raptors won't be as competitive like last year. And oh boy, they proved them wrong. Head coach Nick Nurse, in my opinion, should be the coach of the year. The way he just maintained the team's success after Kawhi's departure is amazing. Pascal Siakam has emerged to be a superstar, averaging 23 points per game, 3 assists, and 7 rebounds. They also have Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, Serge Ibaka, and many more that are just excellent complementary pieces. Really, I really think that this team has a serious shot to repeat. You never know, maybe we the North will be on the championship podium once again this season. Now let's talk about my favorite in the Eastern Conference. And it is no one. I don't have a favorite. It might be a bit surprising. Of course I could just take the easy way out and say my favorites are the Milwaukee Bucks. I can say that Giannis Antetokounmpo is last year's MVP and will be this year's MVP. But when I think about it, I have a shed of doubt to pick the Milwaukee Bucks as my favorite team to make it to the finals out of the Eastern Conference. The Celtics and Raptors have more complete teams. The Bucks have the best player. I'd rather have a top 10 player and a complete team than have the best player in the conference and not a complete team. In my opinion, the competition to get out of the East between the first, second, and third seeds are wide open. The Bucks, Raptors, and Celtics have more than a legit shot to win the East and make it to the finals. And that's why, in my opinion, there isn't a spot to be favored in the Eastern Conference. But the Milwaukee Bucks should be careful. Like I said in the last episode, if there isn't significant success this season by means a championship or a NBA Finals appearance, the Bucks' best player since the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Giannis Antetokounmpo, might ask to leave. So good luck, Milwaukee. You really need it.